Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Fran, I'm from Venezuela, and today we're going to be watching a video called Why are British place names so hard to pronounce? Let's check it out. This looks super interesting. And comment, like, subscribe, and start.
British place names can be tricky to pronounce.
Take this place. Looks simple. But what if we told you it was pronounced Grimis?
No way. It's Grimsby.
We'd be lying. It's Grimsby.
Yeah.
But other places can be genuinely fiddly for foreigners.
And tourists who get it wrong risk being imprisoned or killed.
In today's programme, we're going to ask
in the Tower
why
of
British
London?
place names
What?
are so hard to pronounce.
Is there an and coming?
No, I'm done.
Welcome to Map Men.
Period.
We're the men.
And here's the map.
Map men,
Okay.
map men.
There are difficult to pronounce place names all over the world.
California
Of course,
has
yeah.
Zizix, Slovenia has Ptuj, Greenland has...
I didn't even know how to put them.
Even
Yeah,
Welsh
I didn't even
natives
want to
struggle
try.
with this one.
And tonight we can expect to see heavy showers spreading from the west into...
No way, that's a real name.
Wales.
No.
But deliberately hard to pronounce names invented for promotional purposes like Llanfair Pwllgwyn Gogera Droboclantis
Yeah, come on,
aside,
that's-
Show off.
British place names cause
Totally
more
show
trouble
off,
than
come
most
on.
because they often look straightforward but contain nonsensical phonetic traps that are impossible to predict.
Try this one.
Go on, say it out loud in your
Oh
room or
no,
on
it's a
your train.
trick question. It's not from.
Wrong, it's not Frome.
Frome, it should be blitheringly obvious, is pronounced Froome.
But if you did say Frome, don't worry, you're in good company. Frome is officially the most mispronounced place name in Britain, and that's according to a proper
Wait,
survey.
come,
Excuse me,
just
could you
change it
mispronounce
to a
Froome
new-
for me?
Portsmouth.
That'll do.
There's nothing more fun than laughing at tourists who don't know how to say something properly simply
No,
because they're from
come
a different
on.
country and could never reasonably be expected to have predicted a local pronunciation that contradicts the basic rules of language.
So, we've created
Yes.
the perfect travel
Don't make
agent's
fun of
itinerary for
tourists.
maximising tourist humiliation across the country.
Tourist
Starting
humiliation.
in Biaulio,
Bewley.
head over to Radfisham,
Bewley.
Ransom.
then down to Mousehole.
Mousehole.
Okay,
Next,
Basil.
travel north up to Towcester,
Toaster.
then a quick jaunt to
Toaster?
Gotham,
Gotham.
followed by a stop in Quernmore,
Quorma.
before finishing up in
Quorma.
Alnwick.
Alnwick, which is near Newcastle.
Or, as
The
the
L
people of the
is
city
like
itself say,
silent. Come
Newcastle.
on.
When will they learn?
As you can hear, no letter of the English alphabet is safe from being pronounced any of dozens
Yes,
of different ways.
come on.
Including not at all.
Thankfully,
Just
there are
like
some
write it
general
as you
rules you can
spell
stick
it.
to, and because we're nice, we'll help the un-British amongst you through a couple of basics.
Okay,
Cester
thank
is
you.
pronounced stir.
Leicester, Worcester, Gloucester.
Oh,
W at the start of the final syllable is silent.
Norwich, Berwick, Southwark.
ER
Oh my
is
God.
pronounced R.
It's just
Berkshire,
way too much.
Clerkenwell,
This is way too much
Hertfordshire.
information.
Before you get too reassured, for every rule in the English language, there are always exceptions, such as the cester in,
Cirencester,
the W in,
Sandwich.
and the sound in,
Oh, this is
Of
disgusting.
course,
Oh, sorry,
there's going to be a lot of
which is in Hertfordshire.
exceptions.
The only way to be absolutely sure of pronouncing British place names correctly is to live here long enough to learn every single one of them
Yes.
one at a time.
It's probably,
Sorry.
it's the
So
only,
who
yeah,
were the
it's the only
complete
way.
anchors that invented these rules?
It's time for an English lesson.
Yes, please.
To make
How
an
come-
English
why is
language,
it like
you
that?
start with the base of Germanic Anglo-Saxon. Mix in a healthy dash of Old Norse, a huge dollop of Norman French, and just a fairly
French.
detectable hint of Celtic. Trust me, it'll make all the difference.
Oh, it's, yes, the Celtic.
Stir it up for hundreds
And
of
it
years
does- it's
until the
true, it
vowels
makes all
really
the
start to
difference.
shift. And then,
It's perfect.
English.
Ugh, oh,
Excitingly,
no,
by
gross.
looking at a map of Britain today, we can clearly see which invaders influenced our language where by plotting the origins of British place names.
Oh.
This marvellous, messy, multicoloured map shows which languages different British place names belong to and is a living history of our early settlers and subsequent invaders.
That's so interesting.
The oldest place names here are of Celtic origin. This is where you'll find all
Oh,
the
yeah,
place
like,
names with words like Tre,
Ireland?
Loch, Bryn, and Aber,
Such
It's
as
very
Aberystwyth,
Irish.
meaning the mouth, Aber, of the River Istwyth.
which coincidentally is exactly
And
where we find
Welsh.
Aberystwyth today.
Celtic
Probably
languages were
Scottish.
once spoken all across the British Isles, but are now reduced to a small minority of mountain dwellers. And that's because low-lying Middle England Brits turned out to be more worse at resisting invading armies.
First up were the Romans, who brought in Britain's Latin influences.
Like the rumba.
No, like boring Latin. Anywhere that
Boring
ends in
Latin.
castor, cester, chester, or xeter was a Roman
it's true,
fort,
it's
from
more
the
like
Latin
common,
word
I
castra,
think,
meaning Roman fort.
Common
But the
for us.
Romans didn't stay long, so although their naming system was long-lasting, the actual names they used weren't, which is perhaps unsurprising when we learn they used names like Castra Exploratorum and Belgic Oppidum.
Which was sensibly
so
renamed
Latin.
Braintree.
Next, in
Braintree.
light pink, we have the biggest group,
That's just it.
Germanic Anglo-Saxon.
Any place containing the words Ham, Hurst, Lee, Bury, Ford, Port, Mearstead, Tunstall, Wick,
That's
Witch,
so
or Mere
British, like
are of
those-
good old
that was-
Anglo-Saxon
yeah, it's
origin
so
and
British.
massively dominates southern England.
Like Buckingham.
Or a
Buckingham.
low-lying area of land belonging to an Anglo-Saxon called Bucker.
Perhaps
No
the most
way, that's what
uphealing
it
thing to
means?
happen to Britain's place names was the Vikings, who swept in from Scandinavia in the 9th century, committing brutal crimes including rape, pillage, and the renaming of small to medium-sized
I'm guessing
settlements.
all invaders did
You can tell a
that.
place was named by the Vikings if it ends in Thwaite, Thorpe, Kirk, or B.
Such as our old friend Grimsby. Named after an important Viking called Grim, famed for his infectious positive energy, Grimsby literally means Grim's village.
Really?
We're all familiar with these common settlement suffixes, but what's so striking is how clearly this map of Viking place names reflects the extent of the Viking invasions. You can practically see the exact location of the Danelaw dividing Viking and Anglo-Saxon England without needing to draw it on with thick red pen.
Oh my god, it's
Following
true.
all these invasions, Britain was littered with
Oh my
place
God, that's
names
so
that originated
cool.
in different languages and accents. But the final thing that would make its place names truly unpronounceable was time.
Over hundreds of years, locals who were too busy to pronounce all the syllables in Cester reduced it to stir
many
to save time.
syllables?
But they couldn't read or write, so the spelling stayed the same.
And
Yeah,
while the
that's
English
what I was gonna say,
language has
they couldn't
continued
really
to
know how to
gradually
write.
evolve, our place names haven't, resulting in a language landscape littered with phonetic booby traps.
But what about
It's
Froome?
true, it's all
Which
booby
linguistic
traps.
group is responsible for Britain's so-called hardest place name?
And usually for a place name in England, Froome is from a surviving Celtic word, frama, which means fair, fine or brisk,
frama.
probably describing the flow of its lovely river.
It's not really surprising
No.
that the oldest language in these islands is the one that's drifted the furthest from pronounceability.
So don't forget to join us for the next episode of Map Men.
Is that the end of your sentence?
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay, it's like their thing. I love this. This was really interesting. I have to say, I felt like I learned quite a bit. I didn't know a lot of things, and I think a lot of they mentioned like booby traps, and it's true. Like everything like you think is pronounced in a certain way, and it's like no, got it, like got you. It's not like that. It's pronounced in a totally different way. But it was good to see. Like I felt like I learned so much because now I'm like, oh, I can see like why is it like that. And the whole, it's true, it's crazy, like the fact that they have their own like you can see exactly like where the difference between different places shows like the influence of like what sort of like cultures conquer those sort of places. That's crazy, like that's mind-blowing, but it's true. Like you can see it, like when they put like the map, it's like, oh my god, it's so true. Like you can see like the difference between like the Celtic and maybe the Anglo-Saxon. Like it's so like crazy, and I can tell that at least that's like my understanding, that a lot of like names that I associate like with like British, like simply like British things, like British names, are pretty like Anglo-Saxon, like they're just pure Anglo-Saxon, but obviously they have like influence from other places. So it was like, it's super interesting. But ultimately, like they said, the only like reassurance that you can have, like that you're pronouncing something the right way in Britain, in the whole like UK, is just like to live there long enough for people to correct you and be like, no, that's not how it's pronounced, because there's like exceptions all over. So it's like a little guide. They show you like a little guide, which was a lot of information, but very useful. But I think ultimately it's like you're gonna make mistakes, and if you like move there or if you go visit, like they're gonna correct you, and that's how you're gonna learn. Like, oh, okay, like I've been pronouncing it like mispronouncing this the whole time. But I love this. This was great, and I'll see you soon. Bye.